Welcome to Occam's Razor. This is Blazing Cat for Fridays, where we do a cold read through of the best news aggregate for an unobscured eye on current events. Now, let's just make sure we have all our sound on. Yes, we do. Good. Too many of those errors in the past. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate all of you being here. I'd like to thank BCF for posting these live streams and for his tireless commitment to publishing a site every day coming up on 20 years in February. As you may be aware, BCF has just had a fundraiser recently, so please support his site. We are streaming on 3 platforms, Rumble, X, CommuTube, so please like, thumbs up, follow, share, and subscribe. Most of all, the chat is up, so please feel free to ask anything. Keep it clean and don't be abusive. Comments drive the algorithm. Yes, comments drive the algorithm up when I'm not driving it down with my forbidden words. And after the live stream, please join us on the NAP, no answer period, 10:30, where we cover the question period, prefaced by a review of the far left evil that has beset our land and the events that surround it. The rest of the week, we usually do the show at 1:30 because the question period is at 2:15, except for Fridays. The NAP is a daily show, so please join us there, or until the government decides to stop showing up at the lower house. And let us go. Let's do the next fade. All right, there we go. And welcome to our channel. As you can see, if you've been to my channel, you've probably seen some holes here. And Rumble has been having this issue for the past 3 weeks on my account, where thumbnails are just vanishing. Won't let me reload them. Apparently, if I do a refresh here, now that we're actually live streaming, let's see if the thumbnail did not show up. Okay, well, let's get back to what we are actually here for, which is Blazing Cat for Fridays. Let's do a quick refresh on his site. And there we are. Why am I getting this refresh here? No, I want to go to the site. I don't want to actually go to the old White Beaver posting. There we go. And I don't know if BCF got our email on time to post our live stream. It does not look like it. All right, well, let's keep going. There we go. Shooter was on student visa when Bishnoi gang hired him to threaten Punjabi musician AP Dillon. Well, the judge said Abjeed Kingra will likely be deported to India after serving 6-year sentence for the 2024 attack. A 25-year-old hired to terrorize Punjabi singer AP Dillon at the behest of the Bishnoi gang came to Canada 4 years ago on a student visa, according to court records obtained by CBC News. But the judge, who sentenced Abjeet Kingra last month for a violent September 2024 attack on the musician's BC home, said the accused struggled in school in the Canadian employment market and, in doing so, failed to meet his family's financial needs back home, thus taking on this contract. Well, I don't really care. An excuse for committing crime is no excuse at all. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. We have a post here of the next post by Geopolitics in the Future, stating here, as London plunges into the abyss of invasion with real-life terrorist attacks and teenage recruitment, British police brilliantly demonstrate their priorities, heroically arresting a white child for fishing in the Thames. A child with a fishing. Okay, we got to look at this. This is insane. Of course, we know the UK has gone completely batshit bonkers, batshit crazy bonkers. Well, they're arresting an average of 30 people a day for hurty words online, and even if they don't get charged, they end up on a list of non-hate crimes, right? A list that their employers get access to. What is more totalitarian than being put on a list? Let's see, Star Chambers, uh, the government hiding things from you, working in darkness, and you having no recourse for having your rights violated. Of course, by now they don't have any rights, but this is absolutely crazy. These coppers have no soul. Look at this. All right, let's see what's happening here.
Don't do that!
Yeah, I am.
You're fucking kidding! Oh, don't lie, my God! I've got it on video! This is fishing stuff. Leave him alone. Daddy, please. Oh no. You little 10-year-old boy. Don't cry. Don't cry.
Absolutely crazy, bonkers, Britain. All right, let's find out why this is not working here. There we go. That's better. No, still have something not happening here. Something to fix for the next show. Sorry about the interruption. All right, let's move on to the next panel here. Now, man charged with terror offense over body bag Halloween display. What? Oh, I see. Mayor, sis, district judge. Oh, I see. So it's okay to put up a Halloween display, but just don't make it about the people that are probably ruining your life in town. Well, a man has been charged with a terror offense over Halloween display featuring effigies of local politicians in body bags. Stephen Markham, 58, strung up several bin bags in front of his garden at his home in Stanton, Kentucky, to look like bodies wrapped in plastic. The figures, apparently intended as Halloween decorations, had cardboard signs hung around their necks bearing the titles of local officials. Well, Kentucky. Well, I guess they didn't like this kind of display of freedom of speech over in the holla. WTF? Oh, here's a post sent by Ann Polly that BCF has put on his site. Someone generated female Olympics with AI. Well, let's see what this is. Let's see displays. Ah, we got to go to the X site. Well, while this comes up, let's look very nice. Good. I see we have another viewer. Welcome, other viewer. Welcome, generated female Olympics. All right, let's play this here. There you go. Let's try this with sound.
And she's off, door open, beer in hand, clean grab, caps off mid-stride, that's textbook, to the recliner, pass made, first sip, stop the clock, 5.12 seconds. Germany quick and surgical, Mexico with the rhythm, France swirling smooth, look at USA flying, USA scrubbing to glory, that shines gold. Oh, Germany's brush snaps, goo all over her. The crowd goes wild and the US basin is crystal ball.
All right, let's move on to the next panel. Terry Glavin, Trump puts the Israel haters in a corner. Ah, yes. Trump is really going after the cultural Marxists, and they are having a complete meltdown. And they're realizing that their last resort, which is violence, the last refuge of a weak mind, is always to fall back on violence, and that is why the far left is always predisposed to violence. They are losing their mind. Well, that's it then. The hostages are to be released. The Israel Defense Forces withdraw from Gaza, and the Israeli-Palestinian war is over. Except Hamas is still armed to the teeth. The IDF will remain in Gaza, and the war is not over. And there was jubilation in Gaza and dancing and cheering in hostage squares in Tel Aviv, and all justifiably so. Hamas negotiators and Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu have agreed to a ceasefire, the return of the 20 living hostages still held captive by Hamas, and the release of at least 1,700 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. The Israel Defense Forces will put back to an agreed upon line within Gaza, and Hamas will hold fire. Well, there it is right there. Hamas will hold fire. I'll believe it when I see it because every single ceasefire since these Islamists, in whatever iteration politically that they have decided to create, from Islamic Jihad all the way back under the Muslim Brotherhood to its latest incarnation, the most popular one being Hamas, if that's the way they say it. Sorry, I had to cut out of my back of my throat for an NPPP with some kind of surgery to remove my tonsils, get rid of the uvula. So now it makes it harder for me to go, unless of course I'm actually in the morning to, expectorate. Hamas has never held fire. They've never held fire. They've always broken every single ceasefire. So I would say start a bingo card. Who are the hostages still left in Gaza? Yes, well, 2 years later, Israel and Hamas have reached a deal for a ceasefire in Gaza after 15 months of war. Qatari officials confirmed on Wednesday. Oh, yes, Qatar. Qatar, where the Hamas officials take their billions of donation money to help the people they're supposed to represent and then use it for their own designs. That's why there are more billionaires per square kilometer in Gaza, even though they don't live there, they all have a place in Qatar, than any other place on the planet. The full details of the deal are yet to be announced by the mediators. A draft of the agreement outlined that the first 6 week stage will involve the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip and the release of hostages held by Hamas, in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Right, well, again, like I said, bingo card. Alberta shuts down driving schools, trucking companies for not meeting provincial standards. Well, yeah, who didn't see that coming? uh, Practically everyone who had to avoid a transport truck on a 400 series highway in Canada drifting over into your lane, about to snuff out your life, or maybe one oncoming who's too busy on his phone drifting over into your lane and you're wondering if you're about to die and looking for escape routes. Oh, by the way, as a former driver, instructor, examiner in in the military and having taught a lot of defensive driving, both or standard military pattern vehicles and just basic defensive driving. One thing you should always do when you're driving your vehicle, three things. Keep your vehicle moving, because it's a lot easier to get out of an issue if you leave your vehicle moving. So give yourself some space, slow down, especially if you're in heavy traffic, and see how much you can use that space until that traffic is moving again. Always look for an exit. Always look for an exit. Have an exit that you can go to, right? And then thirdly, um, keep a 360 degree view of you of what's happening in your traffic around you, and that just takes practice. And yeah, but with all the gizmos that have been putting on vehicles lately, a lot of those skills have been taken away from people. And anyways, the government doesn't want you to drive; they want you stuck in a 15-minute city anyway, which is why they're pushing EVs that nobody can afford. Alberta is stepping up efforts to make trucking safer in the province, shutting down a number of driving schools and commercial trucking companies that says are operating below acceptable standards. The province has ordered 5 driver training schools to close, suspended operations for 13 commercial trucking companies, sent 39 disciplinary letters, applied more than $100,000 in fines, and issued 6 action plans to fix issues, and revoked the licenses of 12 driving instructors, according to an October 3rd government announcement. Right. So, as a driver instructor examiner, we always knew that there was a possibility of getting that right taken away if you didn't adhere and make sure that your students were actually safe before you passed them on. But of course, if you have a system that's been created here, and I've said it on other programs, if fish rots from the head down, if you have a government that doesn't even respect the law itself, then you're obviously inviting other people around you not to respect the law themselves. And once they see that people are able to just not apply the law with impunity and never get any punishment, then they will continue to do so, and they do so exponentially. So this now we have one province in the entire country that has started to do something about it. But meanwhile, here in Ontario, the driving test is applied in 53 languages. 53. Not just the 2 official languages that the actual street signs are enough, but the other 51 languages. Um, So those people that do the driving test in that, can they actually read road signs? Do they actually understand the law? Can they read a parking ticket? Can they even read the top of a driving of a license plate on the vehicle that they're following? Like, can they even understand those words? We don't know. Whoever is batshit crazy that started this 53 language driving test in Ontario, well, what do you think causes issues like that? And I'd be interested to know how many languages people can do the driving test in Alberta as well. And we got here the dirty old trucker. Hide and seek, very, very funny. Okay, Canada's most wanted, who they are and what they're accused of. Well, the BOLO program has released its newest top 25 most wanted fugitives in Canada. These men and women are wanted in connection with some of the country's most serious crimes, from public shootings and double homicides to drug trafficking and sex offenses. Police are urging Canadians to be vigilant, reminding the public that more than $500,000 in rewards are available for tips leading to arrests. Well, I'm going to open up that link and see if it actually shows us all the pictures, because it does say here these men and women. Now, I'm just curious to know how many women are actually in the top 25. Once again, white Canadians are underrepresented, doubtless due to the systemic bias in our judicial system. Indeed. Oh, there's a white guy there. Wanted for white. Did I just assume his race? My apologies. And of course I also assumed his gender. How nasty of me. Well, if the thought police already had Bill C2, C8, C9 under their belt, they probably feel invigorated to come knocking on my door and take me away for thought crimes. All right, so is this Western Standard come up? Hey, well, let's see. We have a lot of faces here. This guy. Oh, a little too fast. Oh, we do have a woman. Saeed Osman, wanted by Edmonton police, charged with murder. Oh my. Right, back to BCF for the next story. The Atlantic fantasizes about military treason against Trump. Yeah, so if one thing Trump has always done is he's tried to adhere to the Constitution, right? He's a law and order president. He wants the chaos to stop, and he wants the cultural Marxism that is destroying his country from the inside out to be crushed because they are batshit crazy and evil. Let's see what the Atlantic here says. Tom Nichols, the Atlantic's columnist and professional Trump quibbler, may be trying to provoke a civil war with his October 7 piece urging military to ignore any of President Donald Trump's orders that they don't like. Also, Nicholas may murder puppies, and he may lean too heavily on the qualifier may, used like a safe word 7 times in the piece, as he guesses his way through an anarchist's fantasy that some readers may mistake for news. Indeed, a lot of the people on the left spectrum, indeed, they are on a spectrum on the left, believe everything they read or been told to believe. As long as there is a cue in there to tell them who to hate and who not to hate, because that's how the left brain works. The victory that saved Western civilization. Oh, is this Tours? The Battle of Tours? Let's see. So the week in October marks the anniversary of an epic event that is not widely known in America except among history buffs, by which nonetheless dramatically shaped the future of Western world and which may still hold inspiration for us in the West today. After the death of the Muslim prophet Muhammad in 632, Islam spread like a bloody tide through the Arabian Peninsula, north to the Caspian Sea and east through Persia and beyond, westward through Egypt and across North Africa, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, and from there across to the Straits of Gibraltar, consumed virtually all of the Iberian Peninsula, or Al-Andalus, as the Saracens called it. In a mere 100 years, the warlord Muhammad's imperialist legacy was an empire larger than Rome's had ever been. And I'm trying to load up the story because I want to make sure this. Are they talking about the Battle of Tours? By 732, the fallen Roman Empire had devolved into a patchwork of warring barbarian tribes across what is now continental Europe. When Abd al-Rahman al-Ghafiqi, the governor of Al-Andalus, crossed the Pyrenees with the world's most successful fighting force, had began pillaging to the south of what would become France towards Paris. There was no nation, no central power, no professional army capable of stopping them. No army except one, led by the Frankish Duke Charles, the eventual grandfather of Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne. His infantrymen, as historian Victor Davis Hanson puts it in the fascinating chapter of the Carnage and Culture, were hardened veterans of nearly 20 years of constant combat against a variety of Frankish, German, and Islamic enemies. Hanson writes that the Roman legions had crumbled because the death of free citizens who were willing to fight for their own freedom and the values of their civilization, but the seasoned warrior Charles had garnered spirit, free fighters under his command, and were willing to defend their Christian society, and he led them to intercept the marauding infidels, leaving a ravaged trail towards the ultimate prize, Paris, the Battle of Tours. It's a good read. If anybody doesn't know anything about this, I suggest you go back. And if you're really interested in how the battles actually played out, there are some history channels out there that actually have rebuilt the battle through animations. More than one channel does it. Fascinating. We must never forget our history, because those who forget history shall be condemned to repeat it. Pressure mounts for release of long-buried PEI report on Buddhist land transactions amid broader calls for federal inquiry. Yes, interesting. I think I have that slated for my nap at 10:30. The authors of the new book, Canada Under Siege, allege the religious group linked to the Chinese Communist Party has been involved in a pattern of suspicious land transaction across Prince Edward Island, Canada's smallest province, which they say is increasingly a flashpoint for questions about national security, land control, and transparency. Well, all I have to say is that the 4 MPs from PEI are all Liberal. So if there is some kleptocracy and some uh, human trafficking or some drug running or anything else that's we know is associated with Chinese influence throughout the planet to try to destabilize their enemies, well, it's happening in their own backyard. So why we have 4 Liberal MPs in a small little place like PEI with with a smaller percentage than any other MP in I believe, I'd have to go back through the numbers. I'm pretty sure there's not too many other MPs in Canada that have a smaller percentage of constituents for them to look over and take care of. Maybe some of the ones up north, but PEI, one of the original founders of the Confederation to be now completely taken over by the Chinese Communist Party and their influencers. It's rather scary. Former national director of the RCMP, Gary Clemens, calls out the PRC and CCP for money laundering in PEI using a monastery. Wow. PRC has used a monastery to launder money purchase and flip property in PEI and pay off politicians and officials. Pays them off, does this? Hear ye, hear ye? Well, let's have a listen to this. It's always nice to see people actually challenging the reigning far left liberals who have been getting away with everything. Like I've said so many times, the fish rots from the head down, and the liberals truly are rotten.
Thank everybody for being here. This is a culmination of a 2-year investigation. I want everybody to understand we didn't go looking for this. This investigation came to us. And what we found was money laundering, corruption, and elite capture at the highest levels. During our investigation, we had some brave citizens, islanders from Prince Edward Island that came forward and provided a depth of information that would provide for a law enforcement agency sufficient grounds to launch a criminal investigation. One of the things that we were able to look or ascertain was the amounts of money that was coming into the province was all in cash, consecutive $100 bills, brand new, in the amounts on a weekend of hundreds of thousands of dollars. This amounted to millions of dollars over the course of time that we looked into it over the number of years that the monastery, Bliss and Wisdom, has been operating in Prince Edward Island. We were able to establish that the monastery has set up a network of corporations. And if you look at it from a point of view of money laundering, is what you would anticipate finding in an organized crime network. This monastery, if you look at it from a Dalai Lama's point of view, you would not anticipate finding corporations, land transfers, land flips, and citizens being paid under the table cash for residences and property. And that is what has happened in Prince Edward Island now for a period of a number of years, ever since the provincial nominee program came into existence and they were allowed in. Master the master Jinyan who came into the province, it is our belief from our investigation that he's tied directly back to the PLC, or the Communist Party in China. In my experience, having worked both in Asia and from 91 to 94, having collaborated with Sam Cooper and had hours of discussion with him over the many, many years, I can tell you my view is that the PRC government, the only way to describe it is that they are the largest transnational organized crime group in the history of the world.
Sam Cooper is a reporter, a journalist who's been very deep into this, and he's been calling this out ever since before the last election as well, right? So every time people were saying, "Oh, Trump put the tariffs on because we're running drugs from Canada and crime is coming across the border," and then they came back, "No, we didn't. It's not really that bad." Well, actually, it is. If you read Sam Cooper's book, if you read his stories, he's got a Substack. You can go there and pay a very minimal fee and read his stuff there as well. He's got all the evidence. He's got a lot of people who've been giving him information, and he's put it all in. Canada is a complete kleptocracy. There's and the that 1% that they probably stopped at the border is probably only 1%. Right? We only know of what they catch. Right? We don't know all the stuff they don't catch. We have a massive border. Now, of course, we've heard recently that it looks like perhaps the U.S. is going to be working in liaison with our ineffective border agents, which means they might start having a presence right inside our country to try to deal more directly with what this government has failed and allowed to continue in Canada. We are running out of time. We've already reached our half hour, close to it, so let's expedite. Does AOC have phallic envy? Ooh. As a former bartender, I think the only envy she had is for more tips. AOC wants her misguided followers to laugh at MAGA men. In one of her petulant tirades, she recently said, in part, one of the best ways you can dismantle a movement of insecure men is by making fun of them. I also want her and her ilk to laugh, for that's a darn sight more tolerable than their usual shrills and shrieks. Moreover, the more they laugh, the more they gaffe. Yes, well, there's a reason why the left can't meme. There's something wrong with them. They just don't understand society. They only understand control. Trump has dealt a devastating blow to Israelophobia. Hey, I said that without twisting my tongue. The silence is unsettling. It's 12 hours since President Trump announced that Israel and Hamas, have assented to the first phase of this peaceful plan, paving the way for a ceasefire. And yet, the ceasefire now lobby is eerily stumped. The people have been noisily clamorous for an end to the war in Gaza are either mute or they are moaning. Don't trust the snake Benjamin Netanyahu, some say. If I thought a genocide was being executed in Gaza, a crime as cataclysmic as anything the Nazis did, I'd be on the streets celebrating this morning. Yet these people can barely be arsed to put a thumbs up on Instagram. Well, here we go. Halifax gym removes race-based pricing after criticism says it was not meant to be exclusive. Oh, right. That's because the cultural Marxists fail to realize that their inclusivity is exclusive. That's the whole point of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because it only includes their special people and excludes all the others, right? There's some people will always be more equal than others under DEI. And this is a lesson that this place has learned. And this happened because people online found out about it, posted about it, got a lot of attention to it. And this is the kind of public discourse that people need to get rid of people who hate. and people who are not conducive to society. This is how society deals with things, right? Just by the public themselves putting the natural pressure, because the society as a whole understands that what they are doing is wrong. And through natural public pressure, without having to go to the cops and say, oh, it's a hate crime, go stop them, right? Which is what the government is trying to introduce. Right, because the government will be forced now to deal with this situation like this, because in the past, like now, citizens could just deal with it with themselves. People forget the government are the people. In fact, the government has forgotten they represent the people, not control the people, which is what they are trying to do. So here's from Tableside. Our studios, a fitness studio in Halifax, charge twice as much for white clients as they do not BIPOC, as they do BIPOC clients. Nova Scotia really is the worst woke cesspool in Canada. Yes, that's right. And again, a fish rots from the head down. This constant hammering of diversity, equity, inclusion is divisive ideology that always pits some people against others. Giorgia Maloney proposes burqa ban with fines of £2,600 to stop Islamic separatism. Oh, I thought that might have been euros, but £2,600. Wow. So Giorgia Maloney has called a burqa and a niqab ban in public places in Italy with fines of up to £2,600 to stop Islamic separatism. The bill presented to Parliament by the Italian Prime Minister's Brothers of Italy party on Wednesday would see those wearing the garment in shops, offices, schools, and universities fined between 260 and £2,600. It will also, or is that liras? Maybe that's liras I'm looking at. It will also introduce criminal penalties for cultural crimes, including virginity testing and increased punishments for forced marriages to up to 10 years in prison with religious coercion grounds for prosecution. Wow. Well, that's calling it out right there. Outstanding. Remember, Italy has a history having to deal with Iberian pirates. And we've come to the end of the Blazing Cat Fur panel for today because we only go down as far as a page and we try to keep it under a half hour. We're just about 3 minutes over. Thank you all for coming out today. With any luck, BCF will be posting this on his site later today. It's my fault. I did not send him the link fast enough. I was so busy yesterday getting together some additional digital files, and it's been a lot of fun. Right, we will be back here next Friday for another Blazing Cat for Fridays. I believe Thanksgiving is coming up. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.